The sound is wrong. It is not the familiar cry of a sky-minus sailor greeting the dawn, nor the sharp crack of a successful dive. It is a wet, tearing sound, like immense leather ripping in a gale. Kaelen, mending a fishing net with a sharpened bone needle, looks up. The entire clan of the salt cliff freezes, their morning tasks forgotten. High above, against the pale eye of the sun, one of their gods falters. The great Pteranodon, a creature whose wingspan eclipses 3 men lying end to end, tumbles. It does not glide or spiral. It falls. The flight is a convulsion, a spasm of useless muscle against the indifferent air. It hits the surf with a sound like a giant tree splintering, a percussive boom that echoes off the cliff face and silences the gulls. For a long moment, no one moves. In the entire memory of the clan, in the stories passed down through every generation of their hominid history, a god has never fallen from the sky. Then another tears loose from the great colony that coats the cliff's highest ledges, and another. The earth, usually filled with the graceful orchestration of their calls, becomes a cacophony of panicked squawks and the sickening thud of bodies meeting water and rock. Okage, the clan's shaman, his face a mask of cracked mud and terror, stumbles from his hut. He raises his gnarled staff towards the heavens. The sky spirits are angry, he shrieks, his voice thin against the wind and the dying. We have broken the balance. The world is ending. His words find fertile ground in the clan's fear. They huddle together, a small knot of shivering fur and flesh, watching the apocalypse unfold. This is their calendar, their protectors, the very rhythm of their prehistoric life. The Pteranodon nest departure signals the coming of the great fish herd. Their return heralds the end of the long rains. To see them die is to watch time itself break apart. Kaelen does not join the huddle. She edges towards the precarious trail that winds down to the beach. Fear is a cold stone in her stomach, but another feeling pushes against it. A sharp, painful curiosity. These are not the clean kills of a sky-minus hunter or the bloody work of the sharp-minus to thirst that sometimes prowl the coast. This is different. Down on the wet sand, the scene is a prophecy of ruin. Giants lie broken among the tide pools. One is still alive, its leathery wing bent at an impossible angle. Its long, toothless beak agape as it gasps. Its crest, a vibrant sweep of ochre and crimson, is already fading to a sickly grey. Kaelen creeps closer, her heart hammering against her ribs. There are no wounds, no claw marks, no bite punctures. She reaches out a trembling hand and touches the fine, fur-like coating on its wing, the soft PYC fibers that the elders say hold the warmth of the sun. They are cold, clammy. The creature shudders, a final, rattling exhalation, and is still. All around her, the greatest of the flying dinosaurs are being erased from the ancient earth, and nobody knows why. OK's chanting grows louder from the cliff above, a desperate plea to a prehistoric world that has suddenly become hostile and unreadable. Days bleed into a week of grim ritual. The falling does not stop. The beach is now a charnel house, a graveyard of giants patrolled by emboldened, screeching itch-style needias that pick at the soft flesh around the eyes. The clan no longer ventures down to the shore. OKH has declared it a place of contagion, where the sky-minus curse pools and festers. He leads frantic, day-minus-long chants, his voice growing hoarse, sacrificing their precious stores of dried fish to a pyre that sends greasy, foul-minus-smelling smoke coiling up the cliff face, a desperate offering to appease gods who remain silent, except for the rain of their dead. But Kaelen watches, and her mind rejects the shaman's fear. Her survival skills were taught by her mother, a woman who read the tides in the seaweed and the storms in the flight of gulls. She taught Kaelen that every effect has a cause, a logic woven into the fabric of the prehistoric world. A curse is simply a cause not yet understood. Under the sliver of a moon, when the clan is huddled in their caves, lost in an exhausted sleep, Kaelen acts. She takes a single tool, a razor-sharp flake of obsidian, its edge finer than any bone needle. She slips out into the cold, salty air, a ghost moving against the familiar stones. The taboo cage has woven around the beach is thick enough to taste. But the questions in her mind are stronger. She finds a fresher corpse, one that fell at sunset, its immense body mostly clear of the grasping tide. The creature's long, elegant head is half-minus buried in the sand, its bony rostrum pointing back towards the sea from which it drew its last meal. There is no fear in her now, only a cold, driving purpose. This is her own form of archaeology, digging into the immediate past to save their future. She saws through the creature's taut belly, the tough hide giving way with a leathery groan. The stench that erupts is not the clean smell of what she knows. It is acrid, chemical, a sickness that stings her eyes and throat. Inside, the organs are slick with a dark, oily fluid. She finds the stomach pouch. It is full, but the fish within are half-minus dissolved in a black, putrid sludge that looks like no digestive fluid she has ever seen. Here is the proof. The sickness is not a spirit that strikes from the air. It is a poison, ingested. A poison from the sea. Kaelen stands, wiping the blade on a handful of sand, and looks out at the dark water. Her mind races, mapping the coast. The Pteranodon nests do not hunt in the turbulent waters directly below the cliffs. They are creatures of habit. She has watched them for years, her entire life a dinosaur documentary in motion. They follow the shoreline north, towards the estuary, where the sluggish river bleeds into the ocean, creating a vast expanse of calm, brackish water teeming with slow-moving fish. An easy hunt. A perfect trap. The answer is not in the sky. It is in the water. She returns to the cave. The weight of her discovery a terrifying burden. She knows the cause, but her cage holds the clan's belief, and his curse is a far simpler story to believe than the one she has unearthed from the belly of a fallen god. Kaelen leaves before the first light touches the sky. She carries nothing but the obsidian flake, a water skin made from a copious stomach, and the cold certainty burning in her gut. The journey north is a violation of a dozen clan laws. The coast is not their own. It is a shared artery, and they are merely one of the smaller creatures that drink from it. She stays low, moving from the shadow of one basalt monolith to the next, her eyes scanning the surf for the tail fin of a hungry moss that ate her in disguise for anything larger than a gull. The world feels raw, unprotected, without the shadow of the Pteranodon nest wings. Her human ancestors learned to survive by knowing their place. Kaelen is gambling the clan's life on the belief that they have misunderstood theirs. She smells it before she sees it. A sweet, clawing odor of decay, thick and vegetative. It is not the familiar brine of the ocean. As she rounds the final headland, the estuary opens before her, and she stops, her breath catching in her throat. The bay is not blue. It is stained a deep, sickening crimson, like a wound in the sea. The surface of the water is slick and opaque, covered in a vast, shimmering carpet of the algal bloom. Tens of thousands of dead fish, silver bellies to the sun, choke the shoreline. Under, slumped on the muddy bank, is one of the sky-minus gods, its head submerged in the toxic soup, its wings splayed in surrender. This is the heart of the plague. A silent, indiscriminate killer that offers what looks like a feast. She works quickly, her mind a cold point of focus. She fills the water skin with the red water, the liquid thick and oily against the membrane. She gathers the poisoned fish, their gills clogged with the crimson muck. The journey back is a blur of adrenaline. She arrives as the sun is at its zenith, walking directly into the center of the clan, where O'Cage is leading a frenzied, desperate dance. He stops, his eyes wide with fury at her blasphemy. "You are tainted," he screeches, pointing a trembling, bone-minus dipped finger. "You have brought the curse back from the forbidden shore." Kaelen does not flinch. She walks to the fire, upends the water skin, and the crimson poison hisses on the hot stones, releasing a vile steam. She throws the dead fish at the shaman's feet. "There is your curse, O'Cage," she says, her voice clear and strong, cutting through the fear. "Not in the sky, but in the water. A poison. Our gods are not angry. They are dying. They ate from a sickened sea. And we are next if we drink from its streams. The clan is a sea of stunned faces. She holds up her obsidian knife. I cut one open. The sickness is in their gut. Is that how a spirit kills? The logic of it, brutal and simple, hangs in the air, more powerful than any chant. The eldest hunter, a man named Bol, steps forward and picks up one of the fish. He looks from it, to the sky, then to Kaelen, in his weathered eyes. A lifetime of superstition wages a silent war against undeniable proof. He looks at Okage, then drops the fish. The choice is made. They leave that very evening. A slow, mournful procession turning its back on the cliffs that had been their home for generations. They carry what they can: tools, hides, and the embers of their fire cupped in a hollowed stone. They are walking into an unknown world, trading a sacred ground that kills for a wilderness that might grant them life. Kaelen walks near the front, not as a leader, but as a navigator of a new and terrifying reality. Her act was more than a discovery. It was a fundamental shift in the trajectory of human evolution. It was the moment a hominid mind, for perhaps the first time, chose the brutal evidence of the physical world over the comforting stories told to explain it. In her defiance, in her meticulous and taboo-breaking investigation, lies the seed of all that would follow. The first map, the first medicine, the first star chart. This is how a species of clever, fragile apes begins its audacious ascent. They learn not just to survive the monsters of the prehistoric world, but to understand the invisible forces that govern it, the power far greater than tooth and claw. Their survival was not a victory, but a lesson, etched into the very marrow of our species. The most dangerous threat is not the one you can see, but the one you refuse to question. These are the moments that echo in the silence before history. But what happens when the poison is not in the water, but in the mind?